Hi folks, thanks for joining me again today. This is the first in a series that I plan to do covering many of the basic exercises that we all do or are supposed to do. I was very strongly influenced by the Schlossberg book, and many of us use it. Max Schlossberg was one of the great players and teachers of yesteryear. I believe he played in the New York Philharmonic from 1910 to 1936. And he left a lot of very influential students. And he knew what he was doing, you know, but sometimes it's difficult to explain those things. So I want to just work through this book, do a few of the exercises, and show you some of the things that I do to practice them, because I think that's going to make the biggest difference. Now, I'm always looking for new ideas, new approaches, especially when it comes to what's happening in here. And I'll try and show you a little bit of that today. Now, there's one page of introductory notes. And anything that's written, anything like this video, anything you get on the internet, anything that's information, anything you read in a Trumpet text is could be valuable information, but you have to interpret it for yourself. So I'm going to try and help you with that process. So there's a little exercise that almost no one does. And he says that you have to do it every day, the first thing, for at least 2 minutes. And all it is mouthpiece buzzing. Now, many of us buzz on the mouthpiece, but here's his little exercise. And you'll see it written in the I can't even see a page number. It's the page before page 1, where it says long note drills. Introductory notes. And then he goes on. Well, that's not 2 minutes, but you get the idea. Now, I'm very conscious of the fact that it's not the most entertaining thing in the world, not the most stimulating thing in the world to watch somebody practice. But I want you to watch very carefully and listen very carefully and see what you can learn. I'm always trying to learn, and I want to pass some of the things that I've discovered along to you. So he writes some notes. Here are the notes. Before any actual instrumental practice is begun, the mouthpiece must be played daily for at least 2 minutes in slurring and staccato form exercises from concert G to C. 1/3 of the mouthpiece should be placed on the upper lip and 2/3 on the lower lip. The following mouthpiece drill should be played daily. Now, that sounds kind of strict. I think Mr. Schlossberg was born in Russia. I'm not sure what his ethnic derivation was. This sounds kind of German to me. In other words, it's very formalized, it's very strict, it's very specific, it's very precise, it's got a lot of very helpful qualities to it, but all those things have to be interpreted. So what most of us do is say, oh, okay, upper lip, 1/3 of the mouthpiece on the upper lip. If you watch me play, that's not the way I play. So right off the bat, I want you to realize, what are you doing that works? Don't let yourself get messed up by all these ideas, whether they're my ideas or you get them from someplace else. Your mind is very fertile, and it will take those ideas and kind of run with them, and you can, mess yourself up. If you already know how to play the trumpet, stick with what's working for you. But you also deeply want to find out what's going on. And that's my main purpose for doing this series. I want to get a little bit deeper. So first I think, well, why am I doing this? Now, of course, if I have a musical ear, I'm trying to keep the notes steady. I'm trying to produce a decent tonal quality on the mouthpiece. I'm trying to get clear attacks. I'm trying to do, wow, you know, when I start thinking about it, the list is almost endless. And here's another one of our difficulties. If you make like a checklist, like you're going on you're a pilot and you're going to take off on a plane, there's a checklist, and that's very, very important. But if you do that before you play the trumpet, you're going to find out that you're really interfering with your ability to play. You're way overthinking, you know, paralysis by analysis, as the old phrase goes. What you want to do is get in touch with a part of your mind that doesn't think, it observes, and it acts almost automatically. And that's any great athlete, any performer of any kind knows that that is the valuable mindset that you want to get in. So how does that apply to this? First of all, simplify your goals. So you may be very musically sensitive and hear a lot of things that are going on with this little exercise when you play it. And try the natural tendency is to try and control the things and direct them, the things that you don't like, you know, you don't find acceptable or you don't think are good enough. And that's perfectly natural, but you got to simplify it. So the first thing I'm doing is producing tone. And so what's my tone like on the mouthpiece? It could be anything. And is the mouthpiece the trumpet? No, you don't play this for a living, you know. You don't play this for fun. Most people don't anyway. And I've had some students who could buzz the mouthpiece marvelously well, but then couldn't play the trumpet. So you have to see that though there's a relationship between buzzing on the mouthpiece and playing on the trumpet, there's a distinct difference. And that can help you if you understand what it is. You start to begin to experience it for yourself. So let me try that again. And I'm gonna kind of give you a running dialogue about some of what's going on in my mind. So it starts right now. Before I even start playing, I'm getting ready to play. And as I do, I have a kind of sequence of things that I've taught myself to go through. One, you just saw me do. I just take a comfortable full breath, no strain, very relaxing, and then I just release it like a big sigh. And then I breathe. I'm going to try and breathe and release in exactly the same way. Now, usually, one of the things that most trumpet players will encounter, especially when trying to buzz, is you're going to start to get tight and squeeze and try too hard. There are going to be all kinds of things going on. So the first thing we want to do with any exercise that involves tone production is look at what happens before you actually start the tone production. So let's see. I wonder if I can remember where that note is. Let's see where we are. Always a good idea. So I remember pretty well where I was. Congratulations. Good job, Steve. That's something you should practice. I'll talk about that later. It's a fun thing to do. You're just trying to remember and recognize pitch. There's a flavor to it. Some people say there's a color to it. These are all things that you can use. So I hope you find this fun. I find that all this stuff very engaging. And that's something else you really need to keep in mind. If you get bored playing long tones, you have no idea why you're doing them. You haven't discovered that there's almost endless possibilities for learning in playing a simple tone. But remember, what we do is not static. Holding a long tone can seem static. Everything we do is dynamic. It's constantly moving. The air is flowing all the time, and there's less and less air in our lungs as we blow, and then we have to retake the air and start again. So it's a constant process. Our embouchure seems to be static, and you know, we admire people who play with a very stable embouchure. That's great. That's exactly right. But the whole idea of static, like holding on, is very, very counterproductive. So I like to think that my embouchure is it's kind of riding on the airstream. It's like surfing. And that means that air is, you know, as I said, is dynamic, and that the smoother the flow is. It's like going sailing. If you go on a lake and you're looking forward to getting some good sailing in that day, and there's about a 15-mile-an-hour breeze, and it's steady and smooth, and the direction doesn't change, that's a fun sailing day because you can do anything because the air is consistent. So that's one of the things that you're doing. So I mentioned a whole lot of things, and there is, like I said, an almost endless list. Pick one. So I'm going to find out what's happening with my with my air. I could be concentrating on the tongue, I could be concentrating on the musical result, the sound, but I want to know what's happening with my air. So here we go. That's a little test that I do. Now you hear that F sound. And don't think right or wrong, think what does that mean? What's going on? So I can show you what's happening, and this will be the case for a lot of players. Some players will be unbalanced on the other side, but I tend to overdrive the air. So I'm blowing very, very free. Just like throwing a ball, with your arm nice and loose. That's how your breathing system should feel. But I've created resistance. So I have to find a balance there. So that's one of the main things that I'm working on. Now, I could be doing that. I could have beautiful airflow, smooth, follow through, properly supported. Everything could be perfect with it and still not be able to get a good result with the buzz, because though everything kind of starts and depends on the air, there are a lot of other factors, like what are your chops doing? What's your tongue doing? What's your throat doing? And when you start to concentrate on those things, they can become real distractions. So one of the primary things I want you to think about when you're doing this kind of work, which is very meticulous, very highly focused mentally, is that you need to be aiming at a musical result or a clear physical result, clear physical posture or movement. And this is something that you can imagine. Like I can't see the air strain. But if I imagine blowing into a hole, aiming the air, if I imagine blowing down the lead pipe gently, if I imagine blowing into the hole in the mouthpiece and not having the air splatter back in my face, you see, most people overblow. So then when I say try to push so much air through that small opening, then they don't let it flow easily. So this is the constant thing that we're trying to get into balance. Now, all the exercises I'm going to look at in this book, we're going to be working on all these same themes. You'll hear me say some of the same things over and over again. The main thing I want you to do is try some of the ideas, some of the practices. Mainly pay attention, mainly notice. Your primary job is to watch. And that means listen, feel, don't think. Thinking is like theoretical. That's the kind of thing. No, notice, imagine, picture, but don't try and figure it out. Experience it. That's the way you're going to practice all this stuff. So if you put this little exercise in, which is very structured, as I said, and you do that every day, and you work at getting better at some aspect or another part of the puzzle. We talked a little bit about airflow today, and not to, but blow easy, but with great spin in the air, right? That's one of the main things we can work on. If you get better at doing that just by doing this exercise every day, your playing will improve. And I think that's why we're here. We want our playing to improve, so what we're imagining in our musical imagination can come out through the horn, and then it's just fun to play the trumpet. So I hope you go and have some fun today, and I'll see you later on. Bye-bye.